Hi there, Aaron Dunn here from Smarter SMSF. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the death benefit nomination form that you can now order inside Simple Fund 360. So you'll see here with this navigation, you can simply click on the plus button and it will provide some important information about not only how the death benefit nomination is created, but also access to things like the sample documents and ultimately what will get generated from the completed order. So let's just click on order now, and this will take us through to the order form. Now, first and foremost, what is critically important here when you are producing death benefit nominations, that you must ensure that you are following the rules of the fund. So here, if you are producing this death benefit nomination form, we are suggesting, of course, that you are doing it in accordance with Schedules 1 and 2 of the Smarter SMSF deed. So if you're not using that deed, you should, of course, check the requirements of that fund's existing deed to prepare the death benefit nomination before using this form, or alternatively, you would look to seek and complete a trust deed upgrade for your fund. So let's go and have a look at this. So what we have here as part of the integration is that we can simply start typing the name or scrolling, and then it will bring up that fund information. So we can see here it's a Smith SMSF, and then we can choose from the drop menu who the specific member is that will produce this death benefit nomination for. So we have John Smith here, we have our address here that again all has populated from the Simple Fund 360 data that we currently have. Now what we're looking to do is now complete the information in the death benefit nomination. So whether we're having a binding nomination or a non-binding nomination. In this instance here, we will be operating in accordance with the Smarter SMSF deed. So we can see here, when we click on these tooltips on the left-hand side, it is Rule 11 that is relevant when looking at the Smarter SMSF deed. So I always suggest that you look out for these little question marks for information guides here. So these tooltips will help you to navigate through, not only provide rule references, but also more detailed explanations for you as well. So we have here Rule 11. And then we will click through and obviously look at the form in terms of how we are going to be distributing the members' benefits in the event of their death. So here, again, we have the choice of paying this either to one or more cis dependents of that deceased or the deceased's legal personal representative. So we have those choices there. So in this instance, what we're going to do is we're going to go from John across to Jane here, and we'll add Jane Smith into here. We'll look at the relationship, of course, as a spouse, and then we need to determine how this binding nomination is to be paid. So is it lump sum or income stream or in a form nominated by the beneficiary? And again, it's not just an or, it could be an and or an or. But in this instance, what we'll do is we're going to allocate it at the discretion of Jane in the event of John's death, but of course binding those instructions. So 100% of that is going to be passed across. And then we want this to be a non-lapsing binding death benefit nomination. So the alternatives, of course, again, is that it provides for non-lapsing. Otherwise, we can actually put in place prescribed timeframes. And whilst the CIS regulations specifically look at a 3-year renewal, we, of course, for an SMSF, are governed by what the rules of the fund say. So again, it may not be a 3-year term. It may be a term that is longer or even shorter in this regard. But in this instance, we're going to make it a non-lapsing nomination and therefore shall not cease unless the member decides, of course, to do it again in the future. So now what we have here is we've dealt with our first layer of the death benefit, but we need to consider our cascading nominations. So what this is doing is, in the event of any nominated beneficiary that was referred previously, if they fail to survive the member for a period of 30 days, then the member is going to direct the trustee to pay that beneficiary or pay that benefit in the form that is indicated here. So it may be divided equally amongst those that survive me. If there was more than one there, then you would obviously have the ability to pay it to the surviving one beneficiaries that existed. It could be paid to the LPR. So in essence, they will pick that up and then deal with it via the will, or you can list other nominated dependents if you wish to do so. And again, it will ask you all that information there. So here we have the payment. We're going to pay it to the LPR. So if Jane predeceases John, then we just want this money to go across into John's will. So in this instance, we simply click next. And now we move to our last stage, which is about the appointment of a replacement trustee. And you can see here again, we have specific information that is part of the Smarter SMSF deed. And what we have here in Rule 2.9 is that it allows for the member to nominate their LPR or another person upon that consent to come in and step into the shoes of that deceased individual in as either a individual trustee or a director of the corporate trustee. Now, this is when we look at the definition of a self-managed fund, it is permissive but not mandatory to have to appoint a replacement in these circumstances. And there's certainly been cases along the way, in particular when we get to blended families, as to why a replacement trustee in the event of the member's death may be important. So it may be that you want to appoint kids or a child. It may be that you want to appoint someone else to step into the shoes to help and assist with the payment of that death benefit. In this instance, it may be with John and Jane that Jane is also the executor of John's will. So in essence, we don't need to have anyone come in because Jane will already be inside the fund to deal with the death benefit. But there are cases, so it is important that you have that discussion to work out the importance of whether a replacement trustee should come in to actually help deal with the death benefit, remembering that you have 6 months in order to comply with the definition of a self-managed super fund once that member has passed away. So here we're just going to select no. Now what we have is the ability to review the information we have on file here, and then you'll have the choice. Now this will be subject to whether you have a subscription, and therefore the price will not appear here because you will have it counted off the subscription that you have, starting from a start of 25 right up to packages of 500 or more. Otherwise, again, as you can see here, the credit card information will appear. Put in that information and then simply hit order now. So what I'll do is I'll just pause the video there, generate the document, and then show you what that completed order actually looks like. Okay, so we've now got our email saying that this document has been ordered, and we can simply click on the link there. It will also be available for you to see in the completed orders inside Simple Fund 360 as well. So what we have here is we've got John Smith, a member of the fund, and then putting in the directions as to how the benefit is to be paid to Jane in the event of his death. And you can see that discretion there. And then in the event that they do not, that Jane predeceases John, then the benefit is to be paid to the LPR. And finally, in respect to the replacement trustee, again, no specific direction there to enable that to do so. So that is what's required. We specifically within the Smarter SMSF deed have acceptance as being provided with the binding death benefit nomination upon valid execution of the document. So we don't need or require any ability for the documentation to have acceptance, which of course would provide an additional trustee minute. The deed specifically talks about the requirements that once this documentation has been validly executed, that it is automatically accepted by the trustees as well. So that is it. If you do have any questions in respect to the documentation and the order, please feel free to get in contact with us, and we'd be more than happy to help. Take care. Bye for now.